If you enjoy this content, please take a moment to rate and review it. Your feedback will greatly impact our ability to reach more people. Thank you. How's it going?
It's going well. Been a busy week. It feels like it's always a busy week. I don't know. Every week's kind of busy.
Yeah, indeed. I was, last week, I was in Mexico City, and then I was in Boston for an LP event.
Yeah.
And then I was in Nashville, and then and we recorded.
Yep.
And then I went to Sleepy Hollow for HFMA board retreat, and then back to Mexico City, and then back here.
Wow, you're getting a lot of miles. You're racking up a lot of miles.
Holy cow, dude! Yeah, it's been kind of crazy, but it was actually fun to be in Mexico City for Independence Day. That was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Cool experience. First time that female president ever did what's called the grito from the National Palace across the Zocalo. It's all over social, so if you want to just like go check for like if you just search anywhere for Claudia Scheinbaum, like you'll see her doing that, which is you know, it's a history making moment. So that was kind of fun to experience. And now back here in Nashville, hitting the ground, and you know, I mean, I reviewed the stories, and I don't know, it feels like on the Senate or House floor was kind of the main storyline of the week.
Yeah, there's a lot of policy. I mean, the administration keeps sort of flooding the zone with all kinds of policy.
Yeah.
I get a little bit numb to it. I mean, there's a lot of policy, but yes. But not a lot of industry. I mean, it wasn't much on the industry side this week.
No, a pretty slow week. You know, Larry Ellison continues to dominate the airwaves over the last month. Really impressive. So we'll get into that late when we talk about AI. But yeah, not like I mean, obviously we're gonna get into the Fed, and not that much though this week, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. It's sort of I don't know, maybe we're waiting for something. I don't know. We were all kind of waiting for the Fed to be over.
Well, I mean, look, we're not going to go too deep into it, but obviously, you know, the Charlie Kirk situation continues to just like hang over.
Oxygen.
It just hangs over everything.
Yeah.
You know, and you and I discussed it. I mean, you may be listening to this podcast, you know, to get a reprieve from that. So we're just not going to spend our time and energy on that. We're going to focus on what we do best here.
There's plenty of podcasts covering that in detail.
That's right. So we're going to do what we do best and continue to track the intersection of, you know, healthcare innovation and the economy. And we'll do our best on a light news week, right? All right. So with that, let's dig in. Finally, I mean, look, this is a little bit historic. Like, finally, 3 years, 5.5%, higher for longer. And I guess it took the whoopsie on almost 1 million jobs to get the Fed to finally cut. And they cut a 1/4 point, you know, which I can't tell if that's we're not willing to admit that we, you know, are a little late on this, and we're just going to make a small incision, or they have already planned out that they're going to be cutting, you know, every meeting for the foreseeable future. And so they should start with a 1/4 point now, because we'll continue to see these 1/4 point cuts, you know, for the foreseeable future. What do you think about that?
I hope that's what they're going to do. I mean, the Fed is frustrating. I mean, we do not have a 2% inflation goal, but they don't admit that, but we're at 3% inflation.
Right.
And I agree they should cut, but that means that we're never going to get to 2. I think it would be good to cut 3 or 4 meetings in a row. There's about an 80% chance on Polymarket that they'll cut next month. I think we're going to get a little bit uptick in inflation from what I'm seeing. So we'll see if they are willing to kind of cut, even though inflation goes to 3.1, 3.2.
Right.
I think we're going to get the September inflation the week that they have their meeting. So it's going to be an exciting week in late October. And then there's a December meeting. So I don't know. We'll see.
You track Hedgeye a little bit closer than I do. I mean, it seemed to me that Powell was admitting, without saying the word, that we're in stagflation, right? You know, inflation, while not run away, is durable, very, very hard to deal with. And at the same time, now jobs are, at risk, right? So that's basically stagflation. Did the Hedgeye folks have anything to sort of say? Because I know that's that's an important quadrant that they track, when we head into that type of environment.
I mean, we have some inflation and no growth right now, but we're going to have growth in the third quarter. That's what Hedgeye thinks, at least. That we'll have growth and inflation both, which would be they call quad 2.
Yeah, it's quad 2.
And then it probably will go to quad 1, which would be stagflation and still inflation, but not growth in December, January.
Okay. But
I think the real point is that you and I have talked about, I don't know if we've talked about it on air, is we're in sort of, fiscal dominance.
Yes.
The Federal Reserve runs monetary policy. There's so much debt outstanding that their policy is not that effective.
Right.
I mean, it's not that it's ineffective, but it's not as effective as it was in the 80s or 70s. And that's not going to change. I mean, the more U.S. debt that's out there is more and more every month. We're at something like $1 trillion a month in new issuance. It's going to be hard for the Fed to really make an impact.
So here's the question, right? If that is in fact true, then should the Fed relook at its mandate in a window of fiscal dominance and consider other factors, right? So, for example, we're hearing the talking point a lot about the fact that, we right now are paying more as a country in interest payments than we are to our defense budget.
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing that's more than interest is healthcare.
Yeah. But that's a talking point you're hearing, over and over and over again.
Right.
Yeah. But healthcare is also creating all the jobs. Right.
Yeah. Right.
So, I think there's a question about, well, should you be trying to lower the interest rate to lower the interest payments from the country?
Yeah.
As a different goal here. Right. Because if you don't have the ability to actually impact either of these metrics, can you at least impact the things you can impact definitively? And obviously, I think this is part of what Trump is pushing for. He's trying to get these interest payments lowered.
I mean,
right?
He's saying pretty directly, we need to cut our interest expense. I wish the Fed would cut rates so that we don't pay so much. I mean, he's saying things like that on the speeches.
Right.
I think the problem is that if the Fed were to come out and admit that, there's no way to stop this train, like, crypto people would say. Like it's hard to know how the overall economy recovers from that. I mean, we're going to either inflate and debase the value of the dollar in order to get the debt back in a reasonable percentage, but that's going to be very painful to everyone that is living week to week.
We're already living with it.
Yeah. Or we're going to default on the debt,
right? Which
is worse,
right?
And so, yes, I think they're going to run the economy hot. Let's say that, in order to try to make it less bad for working people and create more jobs. But the effect of that is it's going to reduce the cost of capital, increase financial assets, the stock market, Bitcoin, gold, other assets, which will further make the K-shaped economy more and more worse and rough social impacts that we're already seeing. And so I don't know. I think Jerome Powell is trying to kind of hold things together as if he doesn't see that whole playbook rolling out, but he has to see it. I mean, if we see it, he sees it.
Yep. Of course he sees it. He's living with it.
Yeah.
We just read about it. Okay. This was actually big news, right? The TikTok deal is done and Oracle comes out the winner.
Yeah.
I mean, so out of nowhere, the Ellison family, I don't want to just talk about Larry Ellison because his son is also in on all this.
Right.
So out of nowhere, the Ellison family now owns Paramount. They own TikTok. And they have a very strategic relationship with OpenAI. I mean, none of this was on anyone's sort of bingo card 3 months ago. I mean, we knew that Ellison's Skydance was talking to Paramount, but there was a lot of problems with that deal.
Yeah, right.
There was a lot of problems with that deal. And so man, this is a crazy turn of events where now, Larry Ellison, who I think most people would view as sort of, one of the stalwarts of the last generation, like mainframe databases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about Oracle. This is an old school database company at the end of the day. Even when I was a programmer, Oracle was like not a super innovative database relative to like MySQL and Postgres and things like that. And now they're sort of born anew, right? I mean, they're tightly partnered with the leading AI company in the country, and they now have arguably the fastest growing social network in the country, and they also have one of the top media assets in the country. This is kind of out of nowhere. It's just incredible deal making that has happened in 2025 for a company that people thought was pretty sleepy.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think Larry Ellison is playing a much different game, a much longer term planning and strategic sort of moves. I mean, he was talking about Oracle being a safe place to hold the TikTok data 3 years ago when it didn't seem like anything was going to come together. But I agree. He has really been right on a lot of fronts.
Yep. Yeah. So this is, I mean, crazy. The entire operations of TikTok are now based here. China, has a minimal ownership percentage down to 20%.
Yeah.
I think what's going to be really interesting now is to see how does the algorithm change, right? And how does this change the kind of content that you see on TikTok?
Well, I think what sounded like the two big deal points that China won, that I think the Trump administration was fine giving them, is they get to say they license the Chinese created algorithm to America. That helps them.
Yeah. With their narrative.
With their narrative.
Yeah.
But then they also wanted U.S. creators to be able to publish into the TikTok global network without a lot of, bureaucracy and friction and stuff. And I think that also is important to allow TikTok to continue to be strong globally, not in the U.S. And I think that's probably good for U.S. creators.
No, I was going to say that's for sure good for U.S. creators. That's not even a question. But I think the big question is, how is the algorithm going to change the content that U.S. Users see? That's going to be just interesting to watch over time. I'm certain that it will. It will. I mean, look,
I think we have plenty of people that can know how to make a highly addictive algorithm.
No. Listen. We already have a proven use case around this. Like, the content that was seen pre and post Elon Musk takeover of Twitter is not the same.
Yes,
it's not the same. Right.
Well, so that's the question: is this going to be a Trump or Republican handpicked team of people, or is it more of a commercially minded? I mean, there are big groups, Oracle, Silver Lake, and Andreessen Horowitz, that could run a system to make money and not necessarily for political gain, but we'll see. I mean,
no, there's no way.
Okay. I mean, I hope that's not right, but maybe it's probably right.
Look, I mean, Silver Lake's a private equity firm. I don't know the Bowleys or any of those people. Like, they're not public, other than like, their investment in Chelsea, right? I mean, like, we don't really know much about Silver Lake in terms of like their political alignment. I think we know there's no way they would be at the table of this deal if they were not aligned with the Trump administration.
Yeah.
There's no way they would even be at the table. We know for a fact Larry Ellison and Andreessen Horowitz are aligned with Donald Trump. That's not debatable. It's public record stuff. So whether it stops with the owners being people who were really aligned with Trump, that's certainly possible. But even if we think about, Andreessen Horowitz and like sort of what their view is, I just don't see how the owners of a social network don't put their thumb on the content that we see. I mean, they're publishers at the end of the day. So my expectation is that the feeds will change, and certain things that maybe got more promotion previous. So
will that be good for Meta?
Meta's doing the same thing. You know, I mean,
You don't think Meta's just maximizing value to Meta? Maybe they're shifting it in political ways. I don't know.
no. No. Zuckerberg explicitly came out like not too long after Trump was elected and was like, "We're getting back to our roots. No more, they're copying X on the community notes. No more censorship. Like,
Right.
Mark is, he's a good chameleon. He knows how to shift with the political winds and sort of. So no. Like Meta's already on record. Like Zuckerberg's already on record, basically repositioning the Meta algorithm and specifically, their moderation. In the direction that aligns with the Trump administration. That he did that explicitly. So my assumption is TikTok will adjust it in a similar way. Yeah. Okay, so Lyft and Waymo partnered to launch Robotaxi service in Nashville. I guess maybe 3-4 months ago, I started seing Waymos driving around town.
Oh, you have? I haven't seen that.
Yeah. I started seeing Waymos around town and mapping everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Waymo had partnered with Lyft at all. I still don't know that they had partnered with Lyft in the past. And whenever
they have different partners in different cities.
Is that how they do it?
So I think they have another partner with Lyft, but then in Dallas there was somebody else. It seems like they're intentionally using a variety of partners.
Okay. So basically, I think Nashville has become this really interesting battleground for autonomous vehicles. We have the Boring Company that is going to put a Tesla-only tunnel between the airport and the downtown campus where the Music City Center is. And now we have Waymo and Lyft announcing a partnership, obviously, bringing some strong innovation both between Lyft and Alphabet. This sounds like a lot of transit innovation happening in the city of Nashville. So I would say behind San Francisco and Austin, Nashville appears to be sort of third in line with really getting a lot of robotaxi action going on.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, I don't know much about the fight between the two, but I think it'll benefit people that live in Nashville. So I'll get to try it out.
Look, it makes sense in cities that have not been able to figure out mass transit.
Yeah, that's right.
And we have not been able to figure out mass transit. And so it makes sense that this would be, sort of a center point. I remember when our mayor was running for office and he was talking about light rail, he was like, listen, we're probably going to get autonomous vehicles, aren't we? And like, here we are, you know, 3 years later, we have, a war kind of brewing between the two big factions. So that's pretty cool. All right, moving into VC deals. Imagine Pediatrics lands $67 million to expand hybrid care for kids with special needs. This is Mobi Health News.
I think this is a great story. I mean, helping kids that need a lot of support, I think everyone's in favor of that, and raising money to do that and do it in a much more holistic way, I think is good. They have really good investors, Optum, Oak, Rubicon. I think it's a strong company.
Yeah. So what stuck out to me was that this is 24/7 virtual and in-person care for children with special healthcare needs in Texas, Florida, and the District of Columbia. I don't know much about DC as a market per se, but Texas and Florida are great markets for healthcare, right? And so Rubicon is Adam Bowler, former head of innovation at CMS, knows the American healthcare markets inside out. And so when you see this kind of services-based business, tech-enabled services-based business focused in those markets, that to me just shows smart money, right?
That's right. I mean, I have an investment in the really early stage pediatric, like OT, PT. Mitch from Ladder Health was the guest host a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's a great market. There's a lot of needs, and we just don't have enough people there. So we need more solutions.
Dualitas Therapeutics launches with a focus on bispecific antibodies, and they have raised $65 million in their Series A to make that happen. This is chemical and engineering news.
Yeah, so I think we're starting to see filtering out now sort of some of the benefits of AI being brought into biotech, where we get much more targeted solutions. And so I think it's great. It's the science is a little bit over my head, but I think it's going to be really, really helpful to see this come out.
Synthesize Bio launches with $10 million seed round to accelerate generative genomics. So we see a lot of people talking about leveraging AI to help with drug discovery, but this is a case where this company has foundation models that are going to simulate the results of gene expression experiments. So it's just cool to see companies be able to move into the biotech and drug discovery space with much smaller round sizes, right? I mean, 10 million it's a good size round, but it's just not that big of a Series A for something that is going to be impactful in the biospace.
Yeah, and I think this is the third kind of large language model specifically designed for DNA expression. We talked about Evo 2 maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and then Google has, of course, AlphaFold as well. So it's great. I mean, I don't know the differences between the models, but seeing how the expression of genes is realized is a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah, no. So it's obviously we need to get more efficient so that we can get more robust and more prolific in drug discovery.
Right.
And these are, I think, very exciting fulcrums for technologists to add to the drug discovery mix.
Yes.
Startup Assured picks up $6 million to slash the time it takes to credential providers. So I thought this was an interesting story, just because credentialing has been something that's been targeted by healthcare innovators for a very, very long time. But this platform says that they are the first one to be certified by the National Committee for Quality Assurance, that they can credential a provider in 2 business days compared to the typical time frame of 2 to 4 months. So NCQA is a pretty important organization in the world of credentialing. And so to me, it's just interesting that an organization that is just raising $6 million is the first org for NCQA to certify that they can do it in this amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, we have tried to attack this market 2 different times in the last 11 years. And it's a hard thing to get the incumbents to start using it because they're so set in their existing ways. But it's a huge opportunity. It's very inefficient today. So
yeah, but also, I mean, there are winners in the space. Our friends, over at Provider Trust.
Yeah, they've been great.
They're crushing it, and quite frankly, both because they're friends, but also because I know how well they're doing.
Yeah, but that's why I stopped.
That's why I stopped
experimenting with it.
Yeah, that's why I won't invest in this space. So let's see how these guys do and whether or not what they're doing is fundamentally different from what some of the leaders in the space are doing today. But I just thought it was interesting to only be raising $6 million and to have that kind of the ability in a press release to say NCQA has got you pegged. Inbox Health secures $20 million, bringing their total raise to $55 million. So Inbox Health, patient billing and communications platform. They've been making waves in helping patients pay their medical bills and handling all the quality assurance things. Lots of good news stories coming from this company, and 20 million is certainly nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of the use cases that I think is pretty well documented as easy to automate and make much better. So. Yes.
Yep. Lōvu Health rakes in $8 million for maternal health platforms. So this is Series A. It was led by SJF Ventures and participation from Rogue Women's Fund, Symphonic Capital, Emmeline Ventures, and Magella Ventures. So I think there's a cluster in California of maternal health companies that is probably something like 5 to 10x the maternal health companies in the rest of the country from an innovation perspective and getting funded. I think there's just a lot of people there that care about it, that have capital to put into these companies. And it feels to me like there's going to have to be some level of consolidation. Now, I know that women's health is so underinvested in, but at some point you got to kind of consolidate and wrap these thing up into some company that can meaningfully make an impact in the industry. So, best of luck to Lōvu Health, but I think also watching the space over the last 5 years, it's I'm kind of looking for a Series C or a Series D out of this space that's meaningful and scaling and we've just been seeing a lot of Series A's, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there is a need for it, but there's a lot of competition. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Doctronic secures $20 million to scale AI doctor platform. So this is a doc in your pocket, a free personal AI doctor. It's 24/7 accessible, and this has got some big blue chip VCs on board. Lightspeed led the round. Participation from Tusk, Mantis VC, Union Square Ventures, who we don't see in healthcare that often, and certainly haven't seen in healthcare for a while, but legendary VCs. And so $20 million Series A with those names, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and the one that caught my attention was Tusk, because if you start going into the clinical medicine thing with AI, direct to consumer, there's going to be a lot of policy related to that, and that's what Tusk is really
policy.
They're great at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so, they make sort of a claim here, and I don't know that it's the company as much as it is Lightspeed, but they basically say that, Doctronic is giving you a doc in the pocket with clinical oversight. The article doesn't explain that in a super deep way, but that's something that we're all sort of looking at and trying to understand, and I'm interested to understand more as well. So over time, we'll track not just Doctronic, but the other AI docs in your pocket to understand how they are integrating the doc in the loop from an oversight perspective. Moving into policies. Former CDC director details her firing in Senate hearing. Key takeaways. Susan Monarez testified after recent turmoil at the agency under Health Secretary RFK Jr.
This was the anticipated, huge on TV. Everyone was watching it this week. I didn't find that much new coming out. The basic assertion is that Kennedy wanted her to take direction from HHS and then eventually the White House, and she balked because she was wanted to follow science to where science took CDC. And maybe that is a change, but it's not that surprising to me. I think Kennedy himself would say things similar to that. So I don't know. CDC is not an independent science-only institution. It hasn't been since COVID, at least. And I'm sad about that, but I think that's just what it is now. These are political animals.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find myself, I believe I'm deep in the phase of acceptance at this point. And so I'm kind of aligned with you.
Yeah.
And let's just be clear. Acceptance doesn't mean happy about, right?
Yeah, I wish it wasn't that way.
Yeah, acceptance is not happy about. But this is what I mean when I say this is the circus, right? It's like, do I need to spend time watching a testimony that is, clearly going to flare up political arguments on both sides about a difference in beliefs that it couldn't be more obvious? You know what I mean? Like we know how different, avoid any inflammatory language. We know how different RFK Jr.'s perspective is on how HHS should be run than any secretary of HHS that we've seen in the last, I don't know how long.
Right.
How many decades? This
ever. I think ever.
Yeah. This is such a significant departure that, of course, the standing CDC director wouldn't be aligned because,
What's interesting is that he put her in there. So they could have talked about this. She was only there for a month. So, I don't know. I think that's where it fell down. Maybe she shouldn't have accepted, or she should have known what she was getting into, or he should have. But either way, it didn't work out.
I think I'm guilty of this, right? People think they can change people.
Yeah.
You ain't changing nobody,
I think it's really hard to change Robert F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a long road.
Yeah. So anyway, look,
it was a big story. We're covering it. It was not that surprising.
Yeah, no.
Everyone watching it, they came in with a certain opinion and they left with the same opinion, I think, on both sides.
Yeah, and I think this feels like a point in the recording. For this is not something that's going to stand. Hopefully we continue to grow our audience. But for those who've been with us for a while and listening, I think our job is to sort of track all these stories and try to chart what path is available to us to innovate and make this healthcare industry and situation, for all of us better, by reading the tea leaves, right? And at a certain point as investors, you got to sort of decide, am I an investor or am I an activist, right? We are professionally investors. And, what I say over my dinner table with my loved ones.
That's a different thing.
It's completely different from what Vic and I are going to talk about on this podcast. You know what I mean? And I, for one, I'm just not interested in I'm interested in trying to bring as many people together around the table to innovate, you know, on this. And clearly, like, you know, there's never been more political division. And so I think as much as possible as we can accept political realities as a fact and sort of the way that the game board is laid out, and then talk through how innovators and investors are going to navigate that game board as it is currently laid out, is the direction I want to try to take, you know, this podcast. But like, how do you feel about that, Vic, before we go any further on policy? Because
I think I go back to why you and I started doing this, which is really to understand what is happening in the world and then know how to invest in our portfolio or make our portfolio succeed in that environment. It's not really to try to change the situation, especially in DC. Now, we might make incremental changes by creating a startup that makes a difference in some way.
Right.
But I don't want to run for office, and I don't want to be a lobbyist, and I don't have any money to
do those things,
play in those games.
Right.
And so I agree. I think I am trying to interpret what am I hearing, and then maybe where are these personalities going to go in the next few months.
Right.
The fact that I wouldn't run HHS the way that Robert F. Kennedy runs HHS is immaterial. I mean, it happens to be true, but that's not what I think our job on this podcast is. Like,
it's also true that you're not going to run HHS.
I'm not going to run HHS, and I have no interest, and I wouldn't be selected, and
on and on.
My opinions don't really matter on that front. So I think we have enough challenge to try to interpret what is happening, as opposed to what we wish were happening. There's a lot of podcasters that are trying to change people's opinions for some political reason, or I don't know why, to influence thought. I think we are more trying to interpret policy for our investments, for our portfolio company, maybe for a future decision, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it's also true, and then hopefully we can keep moving on. But I think it's also true that it depends on what your objective is, right? So for anyone who does not create a lot of online content, there is this thing called audience capture, where you get really caught up in growing your audience and also not losing your audience. And the thing is, these audiences are gained on channels that are driven by algorithms, and they're kind of rage machines. Mm-hmm. And so you end up feeling compelled to engage in the rage.
Yeah,
right.
You got to feed into it if you want to keep going.
Yeah, if you want to grow.
Sponsors and whatever. I mean, there's a reason we don't have sponsors.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I think you said it well, sort of at the beginning, that we're trying to sort of sift through this and interpret it for ourselves. And
So I do want to grow our listenership, but I want to do it for people who value our curation of the information and the conversation we have to try to make sense of it and wrap it into a narrative, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I should have been more clear in the beginning. You said like maybe people are coming to this podcast to listen to healthcare as it is today and avoid some of the vitriol and fights in other podcasts. And that's the audience we want to attract, that are trying to make a difference in healthcare. They need to build in this environment where there are regulations, there are policies that are being changed that we need to know about, our portfolio company needs to know about, our investors need to know about. But the overly stir up fights is not, it's not our audience, and I don't think we want to attract that audience, really.
Nope, sure don't. All right, moving on. Barney McCurry did a guest essay in the New York Times to sort of punctuate the fact that there is alignment amongst the heads at HHS around this whole drug advertisement bit. So we talked about this last week. I don't know if we need to go into.
I just wanted to have it in the show notes if someone wants to read it. It's just more of the same. Yeah. The Trump administration is coming after the TV ads in Pharma.
Yes, and that's
what he said.
Yes, and that's going to be a big deal. CMS opens state applications for the $50 billion rural health transformation program. This is from Fierce Healthcare. So are there a lot of details around how this is going to work in this article, Vic?
No. they did not give a lot of detail about how it will be graded. I mean, there is an FAQ. I looked through it. It's a lot of typical things, like they want to improve health in rural America and they want to bring technology to bear and all things that are positive, but it wasn't clear to me like how they're going to award the grants. But we'll have the link in the show notes. People can look through. I think it's good that they are starting, but we won't really know until they start making the awards, I think.
In the article, one paragraph states that the National Rural Health Association and UnitedHealthcare released an analysis projecting that the $50 billion fund would only address a maximum of 88% of the bill's Medicaid cuts, assuming 100% of the funds be directed solely to rural hospitals and not other healthcare providers being hit with the reductions. Under no circumstances does this cover the financial impact. That 12% is very significant when you're talking about, razor thin margins or in many cases already negative margins, right? A 12% haircut to the overall, top line revenue coming into these systems is obviously like beyond significant. And again, that is only if 100% of the funds were directed solely to rural hospitals, which is highly unlikely, right?
Well, and they outlined 5 strategic goals, so we can go through those. I mean, they're, promoting preventative care, increase providers' efficiency, like I think that means technology, healthcare workers, innovative payment models, great access to digital tools. It's stuff that I like, but it may not necessarily mean that it goes to the top line revenue of a hospital.
No.
Because it's going to be people bringing new technology, new approaches, new ways to attract workers, that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's called a transformation program, right?
Yeah.
And so
it's positive, but I don't know it's going to replace the same revenue like they're talking about.
No, certainly not. I mean, there will still be many, many, many community hospitals and safety net hospitals closing. Nothing about this stops that.
That's right.
So, okay, New York Times, Western states issued their own vaccine recommendations to counter Kennedy. So this, I think you could have seen this coming, especially on the heels of the Florida announcement from their Surgeon General and Governor DeSantis around the removal of any vaccine mandate for children in the state. We're now moving into sort of a states' rights level on this vaccine bit. Lots of little storylines out there, none of which I can verify, that are kind of pointing to an ending of herd immunity. I certainly went and had blood work done to confirm that my MMR shot is still working and that I still have that immunity. But it does seem kind of crazy, that we are in this place where we had some of these things nailed, and now there's recurrences of measles. I mean,
there's no reason for measles to come back as a real threat. Not immunizing kids is a bad step in that direction. I think it's a bad sign that groups of states, and the next story is on the East Coast. So there's the blue states on the West Coast, the blue states on the East Coast are all kind of pairing up to create their own public health infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not positive. I'm in favor of states' rights, but grouping up blue and red states is a precursor to bad things in the future.
Yeah.
I
mean,
fear.
it's a predictable thing.
Yes.
And it's also an understandable thing. Right. So it's also understandable.
Yeah.
So it's not bad in the sense of like they shouldn't be doing it.
It's just worrisome for our future.
As an overall trend.
Yes.
The kind of chain reaction of these decisions and of this radical change that we see, happening in terms of guidance on what is best for public health. Yes, that's worrisome.
It's bad.
That chain reaction of events is worrisome. Right.
The loss of credibility in a federal institution, CDC, is negative.
Yes.
Because parents shouldn't be confused. You should get a measles vaccination, period. Now, there's other vaccines that we can talk about, but having no one who is in charge is not positive. And now we're going to have these groups of states, and it just is not a good sign of the future. But I don't know how to turn the clock back. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop short of saying much more. The GOP bill that extends telehealth flexibilities, sidesteps ACA subsidies. I mean, I think the underlying story here is we are once again at a fiscal cliff. The government has got to figure out how to align between the House and the Senate to keep the government open. And it's shining a light on the fact that here we are, September of 2025, and we still do not have a permanent telehealth rule. Like we're still on these temporary emergency stays of telehealth.
Which is ridiculous.
How can that be the case?
I think everyone on both sides of the political aisle are in favor of making it permanent. They just can't get their act together to pass anything.
Well, it keeps being used as this terrible political football, or it's just, it never rises at the level of importance to sort of stand on its own as something, as a law that Congress should pass.
Yeah.
But how do you say you're for rural health transformation and you can't just get a permanent telehealth bill done? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me at this point.
No, I mean, luckily at least the House extended it. I think the Senate will extend it, assuming they pass anything. Yeah,
but the constant
there's no reason to keep extending it, right?
No. Yeah. Like all the trends make really clear. We need every technological advantage we can get in order to deliver care. We
don't have enough physicians.
We don't have enough anything.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And
so they extended it. They are not engaging around the ACA subsidies, which also is a healthcare thing that would be really positive. But I don't think the House didn't pass that.
Well, no, they're defanging the ACA. I mean, they're doing, without removing it.
Yeah.
They're taking
It's going to be very expensive.
Yeah.
Because the subsidies are gone.
It seems to me that when this is all said and done, there will be an ACA marketplace with a few insurers forced to hold the bag as the rest race to get off of the market.
Yes. Because
the risk pools are bad and because people who have options won't buy from it because it won't make sense. It's too expensive for what you get out of it.
Right.
And then they'll be able to point to it and say the thing is non-functioning. It doesn't work.
Right. Yeah.
Like just kill it. Yeah. Now. Like it doesn't work. Just kill it entirely. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Not to say that they won't keep a market in place, but it won't have the requirement for you to have it. And, they got to figure out how to get catastrophic in place and on there. And look, to me, some of this stuff is good insofar as like there needs to be an easier way for the average citizen to just buy catastrophic and kind of take on all the rest of the stuff themselves at this point, right? Yeah. Because we're going to get to the other side of this price transparency thing and realize that if you have the means to stitch together your own system between Concierge and Mark Cuban and you know what I mean? Like it's just better, and you just need the catastrophic piece. And right now it's too hard to get that, but look, elections have consequences and this is the prerogative of the party in control to. Yeah.
And if you have chronic disease, do it yourself option is going to be hard.
No, it doesn't work.
Right.
Doesn't work for you. Right. Yeah. So, It's
to me, there's a lot of people that make too much money for Medicaid and they have some kind of chronic disease that they're going to, I don't know where they're going to go. It's not going to be good.
Yep. U.S. Department of State, America First Global Health Strategy, released on September 18th. And basically, this is part two, part one being we removed ourselves from every, global health aligning organization, most prominently the World Health Organization, but I'm sure there's a long list of ones I don't even know about that we removed ourselves from.
USAID is a big one.
Well, I mean, we didn't remove ourselves from that. Yeah. We killed it. It was our own thing.
That was ours. Yeah.
And now we've laid out this America First Global Health Strategy, and I just have to say that it is. It's predictable, right? But if you're really in the healthcare industry and you've been reading the Commonwealth Fund annual analysis, that the byline is that we have the most expensive healthcare in the developed world, and we deliver among the worst, if not the worst, outcomes for our citizens in the developed world. The idea that we are going to lead the world and the way that healthcare works is highly presumptuous. And maybe wait a couple years and let your Maha strategy kind of play out before you take that kind of position. It's just not where we are today. We don't have the proof, as a country to be a leader in this respect. So that's just my view on it. I mean,
I think that is correct and rational and humble. Three things that this statement is not. So I mean, this is a stump speech. This is a fundraising thing. This is put America first, and if we're going to spend money, we need to get something back for it. It is I was shocked to see it come out from the U.S. State Department that we have this America First global health strategy. I shouldn't be shocked anymore, but there's that it was very surprising. Came out today, so I mean it's kind of new.
Yeah, and look, a lot of it is around money and trade, and how health, foreign assistance is going to go. This is your prerogative.
Fine.
It's your prerogative to establish how you're going to do any of those kinds of things. It's just the parts where you're talking about, basically we're going to be a leader in preventing outbreaks or any of those types of things. That is just challenging with our track record, right? That's all.
That's true. I think it's also we're using health aid and health support to other countries for U.S. strategic priorities from the State Department.
And we always have done this.
We've
always done this.
It was packaged in a nicer form.
It was packaged differently. Yeah. But that is consistent with this administration. I mean, we're getting out of the business of it's America first. It's pretty clear.
Right.
We're getting out of that business. So that part, if you're consistent, I don't that part. It's just that's the position of the administration. So I don't take issue with that in particular. I think it's more just the I just don't think America is in a position today to be a leader on health, given our costs and our outcomes. Right, we clearly have work to do on that front.
Yeah.
So that positioning just feels a little out of pocket. Fierce Healthcare, nonprofit hospitals, community benefit spending faces lawmaker scrutiny.
Congress continues to question the nonprofit tax status of health systems. And I'm not even that against this, but it doesn't feel like the right time. I mean, nonprofit health systems are struggling right now. We just talked about rural systems having a lot of difficult time in the next few quarters. And so it is true that there's a lot of, people here in Nashville that we're friends with that run for-profit systems that will point out, and many times over dinner with them pointing out how nonprofits have an unfair advantage competing against them. And so that's true, but this seems like rough timing to me. So,
I mean, look, my view is just that, and I sit on the board of HFMA, and I mean, it is just, there's just so many headwinds for nonprofit hospitals right now, largely just from HR1, right? That alone, it's just an unbelievable amount of headwinds for nonprofit hospitals.
So this has been an issue for decades, for 50 years. Why we need to have a hearing about it now, I don't know. But,
I mean, I just want to know, what does DC think is going to happen if, you have a collapse of these institutions? Kind of a wholesale broad collapse of these institutions. There's not that much margin there. You know what I mean? They can only handle so many knocks before there's a real deterioration in the services they're able to provide for their communities.
Yeah.
Some are certainly in stronger positions than others based on demographic trends in those markets, right?
Yeah.
Based on balance sheet strength, based on,
their size. I mean,
based on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Operational competency, leadership is always a big factor. But man, market is probably the biggest factor. You could have the same exact leadership team, same exact clinical staff, all those things, and the one that's in Pittsburgh, right, versus the one that's in Miami has drastically different demographics and a drastically different outlook and forecast for how they're going to navigate this. It's just very different margins. I just think if you care about all of Americans, and also, like, let's not forget, the health services make up, I don't know, 90% of the jobs that we counted up in August or something like that. So I don't know. To me, it's like I'm not trying to say that hospitals have played it perfectly over the course of the last 20 years. For sure, in my estimation, as a whole, there was an over-reliance on lobbying and not enough work to sort of self-disrupt to kind of prepare to be more anti-fragile for a moment like this. That's my view as an outsider, innovator.
That's true, but you can't fix that now.
But there's enough pressure on the system.
That's what I meant timing-wise. Like, I actually agree with this, but not really now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like enough. Like give them enough time to actually respond to all the stuff that they got to face right now. Okay, moving on. Apple receives F.D.A. nod for hypertension notification feature. The Apple Watch just continues to make its march forward as the everything consumer grade medical device.
Yeah, so they have consistently gotten more and more FDA approvals for this device to provide medical grade health readings to consumers. They haven't really packaged it and sold it that much, but I think they got to be pulling that together over time.
Well, I mean, look, what would be really interesting, and Tim Cook was at the table with all the big tech players at that dinner that Chamath organized. What would be really interesting would be to see what kind of relationship Apple is developing behind the scenes with HHS, right? Because RFK Jr. has already stated that he wants every American to have a wearable, right? And I'm sure they want it from an American company, and so there's
a lot of them already have iPhones, so that it's not a big leap.
Yeah, and it's already the number one smartwatch by like leaps and bounds,
right?
And so there's a real role for Apple to play in the future of the U.S. healthcare system, and I'm very happy to see these kind of consistent green lights for the Apple. Look, I wear an Apple Watch. Right? I'm happy to see this device continue to march forward as something that can help us all take care of our health more, because we're going to be more on our own. Okay, Amazon bumps pay, lowers health insurance costs for warehouse workers. So this is positive news for Amazon's base, and I know Bank of America also talked about raising their minimum wage. We're not covering that story, but it just seems like while we've got all these sort of worries out there happening around the job market, that some of these big employers are looking to present cases of how they are being employee friendly, increasing wages and improving the healthcare benefit situation.
Yeah, I mean it's a bright spot this week. I mean, Amazon deciding that they're going to need a lot of human workers and they should take care of them, giving them a raise. And then also, I think it's $5 a week is your healthcare premium.
$5 copay,
and then $5 copay.
$5
which is great. I mean, I need to go pick up some hours there. I mean, that's a much better deal than I have.
Yeah, $5 copay.
It's great.
That's fantastic, right?
I mean, I think it will attract workers. So it's.
Oh yeah, no, of course, but and also like there's not a lot of jobs out there,
right.
So Amazon is a stable employer insofar as like the company's not going anywhere,
right?
So yeah, I will accept it as a bright spot as well. Johns Hopkins and UnitedHealthcare officially end talks after failing to come to terms on a new contract. Two sides to every story, but this seems like a fairly ugly one for two very, very big brands in healthcare, and some real fundamental differences in the the story that they're telling about the issues in the negotiation.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to tell from this story all the details, but both sides are making pretty aggressive and negative claims about the other. United is saying that Johns Hopkins is demanding to be able to refuse treatment, even if you're in one of their networks. And that's kind of the main thing a payer delivers. And so if they can't agree to that, I don't know what the contract's worth. And then Johns Hopkins is claiming that UnitedHealthcare does all these pre-auths and reviews, which of course they do, but I don't think that's that much of a change. So I don't know. It's definitely, he should see, so they're both mad at each other. It's not so surprising that they're fighting because, strong groups have fought each other forever, but the terms they're fighting over are new, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I hope this gets resolved, but all across the country, we've seen a lot of full-on fallouts, especially with the Blues.
Yeah,
not so much with United. I think a lot of the United and Cigna, issues that were made public get resolved, but a lot of the Blues stuff just didn't. And so this is one of those ones that you hope both sides can find a way forward. Understand negotiations are difficult, but you hope they can find a way forward. Eli Lilly's diabetes drug tops Novo Nordisk's oral pill in trial. Just the continuation of Lilly kind of beating the snot out of Novo Nordisk.
Yeah, Lilly's on a tear right now. They're doing well,
and Novo's not doing great.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it just feels like such a turnabout because when we first started covering the GLP-1, I've just felt like Novo was really breaking out.
Yeah, they sort of had a lead in the beginning.
In the very beginning.
Yeah, but their tech has not kept up.
No. Drug makers have pledged to invest $350 billion in the U.S. after tariff threat. GSK and Eli Lilly are the latest to unveil plans to add manufacturing and increase other operations in America. We've been tracking this for a while. So $350 billion is kind of the current tally. I expect that to continue to go up.
Yes.
But I think this is a big win for American manufacturing and a big win for the Trump administration.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it's a kind of reshoring from the Ireland games, all that stuff, which is good.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's clear now that the idea that we were just going to be knowledge workers and push bits around on keyboards, while the rest of the world built everything, it was not a good strategy, right?
Yeah.
It was not a good strategy. Certainly leveraging expertise in certain areas, and maybe seeding certain spaces, but man, we kind of gave it all up.
Yeah.
And so this kind of intentional long-term investment, I think, is going to be needed because the American economy is not looking great.
Advanced manufacturing, complicated products, pharmaceutical products.
Yeah, we have no ability to do these things.
We need to be able to do that.
Yeah. We have no ability to do these things right now. All right, moving into Web3. The SEC paves the way for crypto spot ETFs with new listing rules. So this is going to mean all sorts of new inflows coming in.
Yes.
Into not just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but Solana, Dogecoin, many other types of tokens. I would say probably if you go on Coin Market Cap and you look at the top 10 coins there, they probably all can make a case for ETFs, spot ETFs now.
That's right. I mean, if there is, I don't know what the market cap it is, $1 billion, something like that, maybe even less than that, you're going to have an ETF now.
Yep, exactly. Brian Armstrong, this is on X, talking about the market structure, legislation, and this is a big deal. There's so many signs pointing to this happening, but getting market structure legislation really means the tokenization of everything, right? And moving. To me, it means we're moving our transactional economy on chain.
Yeah, that's right, and it's coming. I mean,
Fast, too.
I don't know if it's going to be this year.
Yeah, but
dude, he wants to be this year, but whether it's this year or next year,
it doesn't
coming.
matter. It doesn't matter. It's so fast when you think about
Yes.
We're talking about all transactions, real estate, right? You know what I mean? Like securities, commodities. It's so big. It's so big.
Yes, I mean it is 10 times bigger than the transition from paper to electronics in the 80s and 90s, which was big. And it's gonna affect everything. That's why we started covering this, because by next summer, it's gonna be full on tokenizing the world.
Yeah. And if you're not tokenizing claims into smart contract adjudication,
you need to be.
why aren't you?
Yes.
Right. Is a question. So yeah, that's why we're covering it. You heard it here first, y'all. Yeah. Wall Street Journal, Winklevoss-backed Gemini soars in latest IPO market win. If you don't know who the Winklevoss twins are, they are the co-founders of Facebook, along with Edward Savarin and Mark Zuckerberg. They've been in crypto and Bitcoin for quite a while. And so congrats to them. Gemini is their platform, and they have taken it public now.
I'm happy for them, I guess. I mean, they've been working on this for a long time. So when they sort of left Facebook, I think they got tired of social and went hard into crypto maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, they were early in Bitcoin. So like they were rich. They're much richer now. And now they're even more rich as their company is now publicly traded. So the Winklevoss twins have done just fine for themselves, even though, you know, they didn't stick with Facebook. Yeah. They've done just fine for themselves. GPT-powered Hyro partners with health system Sutter Health, moving into the AI space. Sutter Health will deploy Hyro's conversational AI platform across the California health system to automate routine patient interactions through chat, voice, and SMS.
Yeah, so this is a good story talking about, you know, a rolling out at a big system in California. We had a guest show maybe a week ago with Alex Harp at Lena. He has a competitor to Hyro, more in the Texas suite of health systems. But this is a great use case, you know, where patients, you know, they want to get their information about their next appointment, their lab results, whatever. They want to get it at night. And they want to get it through whatever platform they want, chat, SMS, text, voice. And so Lena and Hyro and several others are I think, filling a great position where humans don't want to be there doing this. And then you can sort of introduce the call. I mean, at least with Alex, I was talking about, they can make the connection and then hand it off when there's deeper questions, more things. So it's a great use case, and it's good to see Sutter pulling, you know, they didn't pick the wrong horse, but still good.
Yep. Okay. Meta unveils new smart glasses with display and AI abilities. I saw a bunch of things talking about they had a demo that didn't go over that well.
I didn't see the demo. Okay.
Apparently there's some issues with the demo live, but you know, regardless, they've got new smart glasses. To me, you know, because of their partnership with Ray-Ban, you know, their glasses are viable. They're real. Yeah. Their AI is behind. You know, but. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts? You own a pair now, right?
Yeah. So I got a pair for my birthday about a month ago.
Okay.
And I was excited to try it out. And it's cool. The camera works well. The speakers are really impressive because it's just glasses, but you can hear through. I don't know how it works, but you can hear very well.
Yeah, spatially, it's not quite the same as AirPods, but I mean, it's about 80% of it or something.
Yeah. The AI is not. I mean, I use a lot of different AI models.
Yeah.
And it's subpar. I mean, it's not. It doesn't understand. I mean, I was trying to text my son who gave me the glasses, and it couldn't find him. And I've texted with.
It's kind of scary for Meta, man, that their AI is so far behind, and then they can't keep the talent that they've hired.
That's right.
And I mean, it's like,
So, I think that AI is progressing fast enough that open source is going to end up being good enough for Meta's purposes.
Right. But they're
right
not
now
going to be a frontier leader.
No, they're not a leader.
They're not a frontier leader. Yeah.
The glasses are. I have the last generation. I don't have the pop-up display because it wasn't out a month ago. But yeah, I mean, it's promising, but the AI has got to be better. I mean, you know, people are used to speaking to it, and it understands what you want and does it. And it's what's complicated stuff.
And here's the thing. They're not a hardware company. They're a software company at the end of the day. I mean, you know, they have these side quests in AR and VR, but like Meta makes their money.
They're forever worried about not having the full vertical stack. And they don't. They don't have a phone.
They don't.
They don't have chips. And they're trying to get a use case. And the glasses are the right one to focus on.
Yes.
But it has to work.
Yes. OpenAI's funding challenges loom over Oracle Broadcom deal spree. The world's largest startup needs more paying users, but it isn't clear whether they will materialize soon. So, I mean, at the end of the day, is it the funding challenges, or is it the ridiculous valuation that, you know, you got to grow into, that is based on the idea that you're going to collapse all labor, all knowledge work labor, and you're just a voracious, consumer of energy.
And Gemini passed them in all counts this week. So like they're number one in the App Store. They're more users, more tokens, more everything. I don't know. I mean, I
was always long Google on this.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the CEO, but they did have the best product in the history of product releases.
Yes.
And it's still used by, I don't know, 700-800 million people a week. So they probably can figure out something. But again, Oracle is in like the no lose situation, right? They are going to be the like data center technology.
They've got capacity. Everyone needs capacity.
And then if something happens, then they're going to end up sharing it with Microsoft, just splitting up the spoil. So like it's sort of no lose for Oracle and Microsoft.
Yes.
And it's a high stakes game that Sam's playing. He's got a lot of issues with trying to go to change the corporate structure, figure out how to raise money, sell more products against people like Google that don't necessarily need the revenue the same way. So it's a hard set of things. I wouldn't build my entire business on OpenAI, but people are.
No, and I think the other thing is like OpenAI doesn't have an angle. Like Grok's got an angle, X.
Yes.
Anthropic's angle is coding. And it's like others are trying to get there, but like the Claude brand in the coding world is so strong now.
Yeah. Yes.
That like, okay, maybe you could swap something out, but I don't know. It's getting pretty sticky now. I think the Anthropic brand around the best coding model is pretty sticky. Google's got Gemini, but Google's got a million other businesses. You know what I mean? Like, we just talked about Waymo on this show.
And YouTube.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I think the unique data is really the lifeblood of AI companies. And OpenAI has they've licensed some data, but not, I don't think enough.
Yeah, and not just YouTube. I mean, I would say Maps is another one. I mean, like,
Maps,
where do I go when I'm trying to figure out? Yeah,
search.
Gmail. Yeah, my whole workspace account. So yeah, I mean, Gemini, super clear use case. Claude, super clear use case.
Yes.
Grok.
Yes.
Pretty clear use case,
yes.
Honestly. Pretty clear use case. Like when I'm asking a current event question, I go to Grok.
Yeah.
That's where I go. Like it's the one I trust.
Yeah, and Elon came out with that battery pack. Do you see that?
No, I know. Yeah. I mean, he's now about to compete with NVIDIA. You know what I mean? With his chip clusters and stuff. So all of a sudden, OpenAI is actually looking kind of weak.
Yes, that's what I think too.
I mean, look, it's an opportunity for Sam Altman to prove his mettle amongst the big boys, right?
Yeah,
for sure. Because he's swimming in deep waters now. Google puts its popular AI video generator into YouTube Shorts. So we were just talking about Google and their AI ability as well as YouTube. And VO3, I think, is right now still the clear and away leader in terms of a video model. Yeah,
VO3 has propelled them to the number one app in the App Store.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's a viral, like, shareable thing. You can play with it. It's super fast. I think you get 100 free images.
The tokens are.
If you're not a paid user, you get 100 free a day. I mean, I don't know how. I'm sure there's a way to use more than 100, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So creators are using that. Now it's being embedded into YouTube, so it's even going to be used even more. Amazon is using AI to grow their ad sales by automating the creation. So, I mean, look, to me, there's a concern here that we're just going to get so much AI slop, out there in ads and social stuff. I mean, I still have yet to see a piece of AI content that is like meaningfully compelling against all the human created content. So to me, there's just still, I'm like, wow, it looks cool. But like the compellingness of it is still not quite there for me.
I don't know. I mean, those 10-second ads that run before a video or like just
I don't watch any of them.
Yeah, I don't either. But they're not hard to replicate.
Yeah, but I don't listen. I don't care about any ads.
Well, that's what they're building.
Right.
So like if you're in Amazon shopping for, I mean, the example they gave here is a bird feeder.
Yeah.
You're shopping for bird seed. They serve you this AI generated video of a bird feeder camera thing.
AI is going to replace all the ad stuff.
Yeah. It's easy.
There's no reason to have
no one's watching it anyway.
That's what I'm saying. There's no reason to have humans doing the ad stuff because no one wants to watch ads anyway. I'm more concerned about the broader content generation, stuff that's
Yes.
going to go on out there. But look, whatever. I don't want to be that old dude. Like it's coming, it's definitely coming, and I'm definitely old. So I need to just like get with it. Okay. Final story. NVIDIA to invest $5 billion in Intel, furthering Trump's turnaround plan. The soars of Intel went nuts, and Trump front ran this investment. And so the U.S. does quite well on this investment, doesn't it?
Yes. I mean, amazingly, I shouldn't say that.
Are you against insider trading if it's the United States of America?
I don't think so. I mean,
I don't know that I am. I mean, like
if you control the SEC, there is no insider trading. Is there?
I guess that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of the point, right? I mean, I feel like on principle the answer is supposed to be yes, but it's like it's for America, and we're in such a huge deficit right now. It's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah. It's a tricky one.
And if you had said to me, I mean, even 3 months ago, that NVIDIA was going to invest in Intel and kind of bail them out, I would have laughed. But they invested $5 billion. And they're bailing them out.
Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine what the business terms here are in exchange for that money? And dude, NVIDIA is like future-proofing themselves against Intel through this investment, right? I mean, like yes, Intel can do just fine, but it will always support NVIDIA.
Yeah, Intel's going to have the second run, cheaper chips. I think.
Yeah, it's their minor league.
Yeah, that's right.
And they'll probably have them just go beat up the rest of the minor league players.
Yes, that's right. And at the end of the day, I guess it's two American companies quasi getting together in a sort of joint venture / merger-ish. And we got bigger problems to fight against China. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's okay. But it was surprising.
I mean, Intel was so far from being competitive with NVIDIA that it doesn't even...
They were going to fail, not exist anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that we have another player that's still going to exist.
Yeah. Agree. It's
And yes, Trump made a great deal probably because he knew all this was going to happen. But still, the U.S. made a bunch of money on the Intel trade.
Look, we're running a brutal deficit right now. Anything we can do to offset the deficit, it seems like fair play to me. It's a weird thing to say because it seems fairly clear there was some knowledge that this was likely going to happen. But elections have consequences. That's all I'm going to say. So that's all I'm going to say. Elections have consequences.
Yeah. And I mean, I think these kind of things, like the U.S. government taking an ownership position in order to facilitate global trade, you can't put that back in the bottle. The next election doesn't matter. That already is a thing now that the U.S. does because it's going to be very lucrative. Obviously, it's going to be very lucrative.
Yep.
So the world is wild, but we will keep covering it here.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for putting the show together. Next week we'll be remote, but we'll be on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, man. Look forward to it.